Okay, so hi everyone, welcome to today's Health Hour Health Coaching with Beck. My name is Ange Headlam. I'm a Community Experience Coordinator here at Diabetes Australia. This fortnight's topic is low carb diets in practice. It's great to see you all here today. For those of you who don't know Beck and might be joining us for the first time, she's our resident accredited practicing dietitian and health coach with over 20 years experience working with people living with diabetes. For those of you who haven't, you are welcome to turn on your camera and video if you would like. We love to see your faces and interact, but this is not compulsory. As our health coaching sessions are gaining popularity and we have some more participants in this session, please leave yourself on mute and refrain from speaking over Beck and other participants. If you do have a question or would like to answer a question that Beck has asked, please use the raise hand function and either myself or Beck will come to you and you can take yourselves off mute. You'll find the raise hand function at the top of your screen. There's a little hand icon up the top there. To give everyone a chance to speak or ask a question, please stick to one question or comment at a time and be mindful of the time you're taking as we only have the hour. You will also have the option to put any questions in the Q&A area or chat, whichever you have access to. I will keep an eye on both. Please use whichever of these is easiest for you. And for any questions that we do have in the chat or Q&A area or any questions you may have that have not been covered, we will post answers to those questions in Diabetes Connect in the Diabetes United General Forum. So if there's anything else after the session as well, they'll be posted into Diabetes Connect in that general forum there. Just a disclaimer, whilst Beck is an accredited practicing dietitian and health coach, she is not a medical expert or GP. We suggest you speak with your GP in relation to medical questions. Beck is unable to offer personal medical advice or consultations. If it is a question that could be answered by a diabetes educator, you can also post that in Diabetes Connect and we can get the answer for you. Finally, today's webinar will be recorded and will be available in Diabetes Connect. And today, at the end of the session, if you do have 5 more minutes once Beck has finished her health hour, we would love your feedback on our next Diabetes United campaign. Our United manager, Tash, will join us shortly and she will have a brief PowerPoint to go through with you for your thoughts. I will now just read our acknowledgement of country and then I'll hand over to Beck. Diabetes Australia acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the traditional owners and custodians of this country. We pay the utmost respect to them, their cultures, and to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. Diabetes Australia is committed to improving health outcomes for all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people affected by diabetes and those at risk. And with that, I shall hand over to Beck. Enjoy the webinar. Please ask your questions, pop them in the chat and the Q&A as I mentioned. And here's Beck.
Well, happy New Year, everyone. And we're starting off with, I would say, the most contentious issue when it comes to diet and diabetes. And when I say diet, I mean way of eating. And I'm going to pop up a little presentation slide to go through, but then the rest of the time I'd like to hear from you, because we know with low carb diets in practice, that's what it's called today, it's not a one size fits all and everyone is very different of what their needs are. And it'd be really interesting to find out who has lowered carbs in their diet, how's it going for you, what's working, what's not working, any tips or tricks that you'd like to offer, and also, as Ange said, any questions. So I'm going to share my screen, but as a dietitian, I've been a diabetes dietitian for around 23 years now, and carbohydrate modification is really the focal point of the consultations I used to provide, because we know the benefits of reducing those carbs, but how much you reduce is different for everyone. Really different for everyone. And compared to 23 years ago, it was very different, the way we prescribed carbohydrates. I think now it's very exciting. We've got a lot more research and we've got a lot of new ways of making healthy food taste good. And I'm going to show you our website too with our recipes, because we adhere to very strict criteria when it comes to how many grams of carbs for recipes, fat and fiber. So that's my job, to make sure they're tasty. So I will show you that if you're really stuck for ideas if following a low carb diet. So let me share my screen. Here we go, and we'll see. Can you see that? And share. How's that? Can you see that, Ange?
Yep, you might just need to put click on slideshow. Yep, and from beginning.
There we go.
That's it.
That's right. Great. So like I said, these health hours are supposed to be interactive. I want to hear about you all. So let me just paint the picture of what low carb diets in practice are all about. So what I said, it's not a one size fits all. So it exists on a continuum. And so what I mean by that, it ranges from a moderate reduction, and I'll show you exactly what that is, to a very, very low carbohydrate diet, which is often called a ketogenic diet. But there's a couple of points to consider if you are considering going on a low carb diet, or if you're on one. We have to be flexible. So it depends on your goals. What are your goals? If your goal is diabetes remission, then your carbohydrate intake might be quite low, ketogenic. Or if you're looking at just improving your HbA1c, you've been to the endo and he or she has said, look, it's up by 1%. I think you might need to reduce carbs. You might do something a little less strict, and that may work for you. It also depends on your health status. What are the other health issues that are happening in your life as well? Personal preferences. Okay, are you vegan? Is that going to be very hard if you're going on a high protein, low carb diet? And also professional support. So we offer a lot of professional support on the forum, but if you need specific tailored advice, then definitely go and see your endocrinologist or GP or diabetes educator, or a one-to-one with a diabetes dietitian. And here are the benefits. I mean, why would you go on a low carb diet? And we know from the research that it can help blood sugars. So you might find that your HbA1c comes down. So that's your 3-month blood sugar average. It can help lose weight. It can lower triglycerides. So triglycerides are a bad fat in your blood. So whenever you get your cholesterol tested, they'll call it a lipid profile. You'll have your cholesterol, then there'll be the LDL, HDL cholesterol, and then triglycerides. And that's a really good measure. And you can manipulate that through diet. And for some people that will work. You could also reduce medications and possible remission by reducing carbs. But as I said before, it depends on how much you reduce your carbs by. But we need to consider the medications. So if you're ever changing a diet, I would definitely recommend medical support. Looking at the nutritional quality as well. So we don't want to just eat bacon and eggs every day. Where's the vitamin C in that? Yes, bacon, eggs have protein, but we need to make sure that there's nutritional quality. And sustainability, is that something that you can adhere to for the rest of your life? And so for some people, they may go very strict, and then they might reintroduce a few carbs if they find it's not working. But that's, again, where it would be really good to get professional advice so you're not completely relapsing. So as we know, it's not one size fits all. So here's the, I'm almost finished, and then I'm going to hand it over to everyone else. But defining the spectrum. So when you look at, I was just looking over the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, and it's recommended that carb intake for Australians is between 255 and 325 grams a day, which is a lot. So a moderate low carb diet starts from 130 grams and less. So if you reduce your carbs a bit, 100 to 130 grams is a moderate low carb. And that's where typically I've seen people who have come in and they've cut a lot of rubbish out, and they've just decided to keep to some whole foods. A low carb is between 50 and 100 grams a day, and my meal plans sit around there. So the meal plans that you can receive if you're on a Plus membership with Diabetes Australia, you can receive a monthly meal plan, and I sit around the 50 to 100 grams of carbs per day for the recipes. And a very low carb is 20 to 50 grams. So that's where you'd be looking at the Defeat Diabetes diet and then the ketogenic diet as well, which that also fits there too. They have different amounts. I'll come back to that, but I've got the website there. I would like to show you a few recipes of how you can still eat low carb, but they can be quite tasty. It takes a bit of creativity. And I'm always up for ideas. So when you're on a moderate low carb diet, so let's say you're going between 100 and 130 grams a day, that's usually the first step. That's a really good step to reducing carbs. And you can still have the bread in the diet, some cereals, but you're really cutting out a lot of the refined high GI carbs and a lot of crap, just a lot of the junk foods. So you'd be basing your diet on fruit, dairy, legumes, and whole grains. They're the carbs that you would base it on, but you'd still be capping them at around 30 grams at a mealtime. And 30 grams would be about 2 slices of traditional whole grain bread, or around the fist size of some basmati rice. So you still are portioning. And I've seen many people in my practice who have adhered to this amount of carbs and kicked all their goals, and they haven't needed to go any further. So that can be step one for people. Step two, maybe you're looking at losing more weight. Maybe the blood sugars aren't coming down. The next stage could be something that we call low carb. And as I said before, that's where my meal plans sit, between 50 to 100 grams a day. And that's a major reduction in bread, rice, pasta, and potatoes. So what you'd be doing is bulking up the meals with lots of other veg. In some of my recipes, I still include some charisma potatoes. They're lower carb, but just a small amount. Lots of lean protein and healthy fats, and you'd still be able to have fruit on that diet. So you'll see in my meal plans that I might have a chicken salad, but I cut up a bit of an apple in there, and that will be the carbohydrate source. So not only are you getting carbs, you're getting vitamins and fiber. So you're being very smart with your choices. And then the very low carb and ketogenic diet. So ketogenic is where the body starts to break down and use fat as a fuel source. There is a lot of carbs that are restricted, and you shift towards ketosis, like I said. So you'd be really focusing on those lean proteins and fats, and the type of fruits you'd be having are low carb fruits like berries. But the little tip, and I'm sure some of you have found this, that there are low carb wraps and breads in the supermarket now, and even in Aldi I found a loaf the other day. So that's a way of still having bread in the diet, but keeping the fiber up as well. So I'm going to stop sharing, because I want to hear from everyone else. I just wanted to paint the picture of what we mean by low carb and what it could look like. So from what I've said, is any questions so far? I think there is. Let's have a looky here. Someone not on mute. Okay. Oh, great. Jocelyn. Hi, Jocelyn. Great question. Hello, how do you measure the grams of carbs, please? That's a really good question. So measuring carbs, you can find carb counters. So you can get things like a little carbohydrate counter, like a Calorie King book, and it will show you the grams of carbs per portions, or you can get on your mobile phone Easy Diet Diary or the Calorie King, and it will show you the grams of carbs. If you enter in how much you're eating, so let's say you're putting in for breakfast, you can scan the barcode. Let's say you scanned in my favorite supermarket bread, if I'm getting supermarket bread, would be Bergen. You might scan the Bergen bread and it will come up and it will say how many slices, and you put it in and it will calculate your carbs instantly. So that's how you can measure the grams of carbs. There are other ways of measuring carbs, particularly if you've got type 1, it depends on type 1 or type 2 diabetes, but make the most of apps. They do the work for you now compared to years ago where you'd be looking at books. So hopefully that answers your question. And if it doesn't, just ask some more in the chat. And hey, Deb, you're Graham today. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thanks. So I think I probably fall into the low carb.
Yep.
And my main goal for that is to reduce the amount of insulin that I take.
Yes.
Can you talk to, like we've talked about quantity of carbs, can you talk to the quality of carbs? Are there different qualities of carbs?
Yeah, good question. So do you mean when I talk about quality of carbs, and I call that being carb smart, there are 2 steps to carb management. It's quantity of carbs, so portion caution. So we know that the more carbs we eat, the more it's going to break down to form glucose in the blood. So we want to have smaller amounts. But then the quality, we want more low GI carbs, which are slower acting carbohydrates. So the glycemic index, and maybe, I don't know, Andrew, if we've got a talk on that this year, but we might revisit low GI. I think it's something that people forget about. It's a really good point. I was going to say Graham, because I'm just looking at Deb. It's a really good point, because if someone is really looking at starting off with carb management, I always start with low GI, because we know from the research, just switching to quality carbs can really make a big impact to satiety, the feeling of fullness, weight loss, and blood sugar control. So I call it a this for that approach, so swapping. And one thing I'm going to write down is, after this talk, I'm going to add a low GI shopping list, so people can have a look at the comparison of when I say poor quality, look, a potato is not bad. It fed the whole Irish population for how many decades, right? How many hundreds of years? Potato is high GI, but it's high in vitamin C and high in fiber. So there are some high GI foods you'll see on the list that I provide that are still quite nutritious. But the main point about quality carbs is to ditch the white-based carbs and go for more the whole grain carbs. So we go from white breads, white rices, white pastas, to more whole grain breads. And the best way to think about it is the heavier the bread, the longer it takes to chew something, the slower it is going to digest, therefore it's low GI. So it's going back to before the Industrial Revolution, where we didn't have all this machinery to make fluffy white bread, more wholesome foods. Now, if you find that seeds get caught in your dentures and you don't like it, maybe you've got diverticulitis or any other sort of bowel condition, then you can go for a white sourdough. The acid in the sourdough lowers the GI of the carbohydrate. Or what I use for my daughter, because she said, oh, those seeds, mum. Well, she's only 4.5, so God bless her. I've got a white high fiber low GI bread, and you can get that from Baker's Delight as well. So hopefully that answers your question, Deb. And with quality as well, you know, when you look at fruit contains, one of the sugars it contains is fructose, which is low GI. So fruit, again, is a good quality low GI carb. However, it is the dose that makes the poison. So we know with low GI, you don't just eat all the whole slow release foods. We've also got to watch the portion. But with these low GI quality foods, you're more likely to feel full because they're high in fiber. So you're actually making the most of your carbs.
Can I just say too, I use the
Yes.
Easy Diet diary to put
Oh,
in,
did you?
so you can put in like
It's on my
ingredients,
phone.
like,
Yep.
you know, the things that you eat, but you can also put in recipes. So if you, you know, if you have a favorite recipe and you want to find out how many carbs are in that recipe, how many anything's in that recipe, you can put that into the Easy Diet diary, and it will give you a breakdown of that.
Oh, it's fantastic. Exactly. No, thanks, Deb. And that means it saves you time, because then you've got
Yeah,
all
yeah.
your favorite recipes, particularly with type 1 diabetes and carb counting, or if you're trying to really lose weight and you really think, I need to really watch everything that I eat, it's a really good resource to use. Yep. Thanks. Catherine, welcome.
Oh, you're on, man.
Catherine, you're on mute.
Karen, is that better? Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. Yes. Hello, Catherine.
Okay, so you can. Sorry, I'm not all that great with this, but
That's all right.
that
You did
was
it.
really,
You got it.
really interesting about the quality of the carbs. I've, over the last probably 8 or 9 years, played around a lot with either ketoacidotic, not ketoacidotic, sorry, low keto and low carb and stuff like that. And I literally had all my bloods, my lipids, everything done as a trial, and then 3 months later, and everything, and I mean everything, was normal, even for a normal person, which was amazing. However, you're right about the sustainability. That's a little bit of a thing. So I'm very keen if we could do, not necessarily today, but something like a little bit more specific to the quality, the fibre. And I've also, after 52 years, I've got chronic kidney disease and just about everything known to
CKD.
man.
Yep.
And I've got gut issues,
Yep.
which they've never found a name for.
So are you watching potassium then, Catherine? Are you watching the amount of... Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. No, I'm hanging on to that best I can. But I did have a ketoacidotic episode last year, which was very severe, and
Not pleasant.
I believe, oh God, it was not, but I believe it not only made me have foggy brain for a few weeks, but it knocked the kidneys around further. And sadly, they haven't come back to the level of CKD they were at, but you know, they're a little bit better, let's put it that way. So I'm just trying to juggle all these apples or balls or whatever, trying to do the best thing I possibly can to avoid dialysis, avoid any more, you know, you little presents that you get over time. It's like, oh, what next? Fabulous.
It's like peeling layers of an onion, isn't it? It's really
hey,
I think you've really highlighted a really important point. That's why I put on one of the first slides, was to consider your health status, because it's not just about changing a diet. And we know with chronic kidney disease, like you said, potassium, whatever's healthy is high in potassium, you know, so it can be really daunting for someone with diabetes. And I know Siggy's on, hey Siggy, because her mum's got chronic kidney disease, and then you're trying to eat healthier for diabetes, and then you got to watch the potassium, which is loaded in a lot of our beautiful fruit and veg. But I think, Catherine, as well, what you said, sustainability is not easy, and your focus now is about preserving the kidney function. And so you can, I would recommend, definitely there can be more carbs in the diet, but then it's really looking at your blood. So this is where I would recommend a dietitian who specializes in diabetes, because they should also have qualifications and will understand chronic kidney disease, to really look at, let's look at your health status, and let's look at basically what are the foods that we can put in your diet, and how much would that be? How much would that look like in a way that's not too strict? I mean, you want to still live a bit, you want to still have birthdays, Christmases, but
oh no, look, to be honest, I don't, after all this time, I mean, thank God I haven't got a sweet tooth. So the only thing, pasta, I couldn't care. Rice, a little bit sad, but there's always cauliflower rice and the rest of it. However, the bread is the kicker. I find that really hard, because I love Baker's Delight, but I haven't had cereal from a packet for probably a decade or more, simply because my cardiologist said, Kate, what do you think's in that box that you can keep it on the shelf in your pantry for a year or more? And I went, oh God, I'm not eating that. And I haven't. But putting something in its place is always the challenge.
It's a swap.
Anyway, look, I don't want to take up any more time, because I've made my point, I think, and just thank you so much to the ladies who have brought forward these other questions, and you for the answers, because they have helped me enormously. So keep going.
No, it's really good to hear, Catherine. And what I'll do is, after this talk, like I said, I'll put the low GI shopping list up, but I'll make this as a talk for the forum, because it'd be really important and really good idea for you to put your story up and see what other people have to say, and I can moderate it as well. But I've put down definitely for another talk is to look at the quality of carbs, as Deb has raised as well. Look, let's look at that. What does that look like? What sort of chronic conditions do we need to keep in mind when you're looking at quality carbs, be it bowel disease or chronic kidney disease? So love it.
Thank you.
Francis, I've got some questions in the chat.
Hi, g'day. I'm type 1 in the last 5 years, and I fall into the moderate to low carb category. But I find so my main challenge as a type 1 has been managing exercise and hypos. And so I find, like, if I go to the gym, I find a flat white will bring me up, like it's the dairy, but it's not food, or a handful of sultanas, or depending on how low, it might be a piece of fruit or whatever. But I do find I struggle if I eat too fewer carbs, I end up putting on weight. because you end up in the fat. You've got to get your, as a type 1, you've got to get your carbs from somewhere, and it's either fat or protein. Either I'm eating way too much protein than my body is comfortable with, or anyway, so I'm just sort of interested, but I do find I'm just interested in your view on how to, something like having a coffee. I've sort of got my go-tos before and after the gym, which are but I mean, that if you add the coffees, it actually pushes my carb intake up, whereas I think I'm quite relaxed, and I actually think it works, but and I don't feel any burning desire to go into a category per se, just that I'm managing my type 1, but just interested in your view if you've got another alternate. Thank you.
For a coffee, an alternate?
Or something like, it's like getting some milk. I'm not hungry. I don't want any more food, but I am going low.
Yes.
So after a big gym session. So that's my sort of alternate that I've chosen. But if you have another idea, I'm all ears. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I love that question, and it depends on how low you are. So obviously, if you're below 4, that's hypo. We treat it. Just need to say that. I know you know, Francis, but but if you find, because with that flat white, is it a large one? Because some people only need a little bit of carb to bring them up. So obviously, that's maybe too much.
Just a small. I get a small. I'm a small flat white. Yeah.
Are you doing resistance training?
I do a mix of things. So some days, so it really varies what I need depending on if I'm going for a swim or doing a box fit class or resistance training. So, or playing tennis or something. Yeah, it really varies what I need.
It's a really interesting point, because for the exercise you do, we do know that resistance training can give you a short-term spike.
Yeah.
And so do you use a CGM? Do you use
Yep. So I tend to, it really varies what, but I know I can't make it through swimming a kilometre. I always have juice at the end of the lane, because I know I can't. There's no guarantee I'm going to make it. Doesn't matter what I do with my pump or whatever. But after I've gone for a swim and I'm, I'll often have a coffee. I don't need any food. I'm not hungry, but I do find having a small flat white just gets me back up into a good range, back at sort of between 5 and 6 or whatever.
I think that's great if that gets you up in range, because then you're going to be walking to your car. It's a hot day. I think keep doing that. If it's going up above 8, then I'd say, you could try a piccolo or something smaller, but I think that you need that. It's a small flat white compared to, I remember,
I don't get a bucket. Don't get a bucket. I
remember doing a diet history for a wee lass, and she said I had a coffee, and then when I finally asked enough questions, it was one of those mocha grand latte frappuccino, whatever. And I was like, right, let's have a look at how many carbs. I was like, whoa, 6 grams. Okay. But I think your levels are sitting beautifully. So I think you enjoy that coffee. If it's within range, enjoy that. Not a problem. Swimming, definitely. I even find when I've been back to swimming and I don't have diabetes, I find that I need something straight after. But if you're doing weights, you might find you get that bit of a spike.
Go up and then you go, and then you go down.
Just be careful of that lag later on. That's why the CGM is great to see. It can be very sneaky. You can go, I'm high, but then go back. But I think what you're having is fine. If it was going to be higher, I'd say, well, you could try a different size of coffee, but you're already having a small, a piccolo or a macchiato. They tend to be a bit strong, but they have very, very little carb. But I think that 5 or 6, I think, definitely have something that's keeping you there. I think if you didn't have that, you could be go down after.
Go down low. I mean, I just have to drive home. I'll ride my bike home or something. I need something in the tank.
We need to be 5 to drive. Have your flat white. Put it in the tank. I think that's great. Really good.
Okay. Thank you.
But I love this, type 1, type 2. See, different considerations as well. Really different. Now, other questions, and I've got comments in there too. So I'm just trying to make sure I've got everyone. So another one. So we go back to Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Beck. Sorry, I'm a credentialed diabetes educator.
Sorry.
Oh, 2 Karens. Okay.
Oh, Karen with the hand up that's got number 1. Sorry. I'm trying to do it in a row. So hello, Karen with the 1 hand up, and she's a credentialed diabetes educator.
Yes, I'm a nurse educator. I've been a nurse educator for 20 years now, and I'm finding that it is conflicting information depending on what webinars you go on to for patients that are getting confused. And I was wanting to wonder about, years ago, I purchased some publications that were called the Traffic Light Guides to Type 1 and Type 2 Diabetes, written by dietitians. Are they still current?
We don't use the Traffic Light Guide. So I know which ones you mean. I used to use them years ago when I first started in diabetes education. So that's something we don't have on our diabetes shop or use. So yeah, not sure.
And what about the Carb portion plates?
The portion plates? Yeah, we've got we have got a portion plate, I'm pretty sure, in our diabetes shop, which shows you the basics, the quarter cup, half.
Yes, and that does, but it doesn't do the indentation of the portion.
No,
the Carb plate does.
Right. No, I don't think we have that one. The one we have is just very simple, more for, I would say, anyone who's just starting out, different levels of education, and also children. I've used it with children before as well, which has been brilliant. And it can be conflicting. You know, you've raised a really important point. It is conflicting, but what we always stand by at Diabetes Australia is it's not a one size fits all. And I can't give specific advice to everyone here, but really it's just to work out what suits people. But we do, you know, with the low carb diets, it is all based on evidence. And even from the 130 grams right down to 20 grams, that spectrum, there's evidence to suggest that you'll get benefit, but it depends on the person at what you'll be at. So
I think last forum you were talking about Defeat Diabetes and Low Carb Down Under Foundation, which Low Carb Down Under has been advocating for many years now with Rod Taylor. You mentioned about full cream Greek yogurt. Does it have to be Greek yogurt, or as an alternative to Frances before having hypos post-gym, could she use a liquid yogurt like you have in the pouches for children's lunch boxes, for example?
Yeah, that would be fine. I mean, whatever suits the person. So not a problem. Greek yogurt, the reason why I recommend that is because it's no added sugar, or another name could be a natural yogurt. The ones in the pouches tend to have added sugar in it. I think Frances, it seems like so nice. It's that, I think for people, it's that ritual, having that coffee, sitting down after your session. That's what I like after a workout. But it could be anything carb based. But what you've suggested is low GI, so it's an excellent choice. Yogurt's a low GI, slow release choice, which is perfect for after a session.
And the other thing that I found is I tried to do low carb, and when people are traveling and you've got airports, they don't really accommodate for low carb. There are a lot of, you know, high GI choices in airports, and it's really difficult for someone to be able to do that traveling. I've just had a type 1 drummer who is well known and is happy for me to say, Timothy Burnham, has just been over and represented Australia in Memphis, and he said it was impossible with keeping the glycemic control stabilized with all the, you know, the corn syrups and things that the American diet adds. So interesting, you said that they've tipped the food pyramid upside down, but my understanding is they should take out all their corn syrups and glucose syrups out of their food for a start, and then it would be more in line with the Australian dietary guidelines. Would you agree?
Yeah, so it goes back to what Deb was saying. It's about quality carbs. So bread's not bread. You know, you can have a lot of bread that's loaded with corn syrup. And I've seen patients who do travel a lot, and they've had to come up with, like, can I say, crazy scenarios where they just ditch the bread and eat the burger that's made at the cafe and eat the protein, and they'll get their carbs from something else. And I've had one lady who came up with an idea of when she would have it was a homemade pie from a cafe. She was in England. She just ate the filling, and that kept her levels right. So, you know, everyone, I guess motivation for a lot of these people was they didn't want to be ill when they were traveling, so they could still enjoy the pie. It's the filling that I like most, or it's the steak in the sandwich, or the burger in the bun. So when you are traveling, it can add a layer of complexity, especially if you're not preparing your meals. Now I'm going to go on to, because there's lots of questions. It's absolutely brilliant, and don't worry if I don't get through all of it. I endeavour to answer all of them. Okay, so Margie, lovely to see you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, good. I have a difficulty which is very unusual. I'm type 2, and I probably fit somewhere between moderate and low carb, but I have never been overweight, and in fact have always been, shall I say, a thin person. Since I've been on metformin, I've gradually lost weight, and I don't want to lose any more. I'm too thin now.
I understand.
I'm just too thin.
Yep, understood.
So it's very difficult to cut down on carbs
Yes.
and not lose weight for me?
Yes,
And I
that's a
realise
really
this
good
is not
point.
most people's
No, but every
situation.
question is important, Margie, and Andrew will remember there was a lovely chap who was on our forum who asked the same question. And you know, the GP, bless him, said, oh, I've got to get the levels down, and he lost a bit of weight, but he just kept losing weight because he's very disciplined. And so what I would say with that, with you, Margie, how many carbs you can eat. Some people can get away with a little bit more carb. The key is when you test your sugars, right? And if you find with the low to moderate carb that sits well and your sugars are in place, and if you add any more they go up, well then what you can do to keep the weight on is to have full fat products. Okay,
Yes.
so have your
Well,
full fat dairy.
I'm actually doing that with yogurt.
Brilliant. Full fat dairy, lots of good fats, so avocados, seeds and nuts, nut butters. You can make protein drinks. There's a high protein milk I suggested for this lovely chap where you use skim milk powder and mix it with milk, and it doubles the protein. I will send, again, because I wrote him tips, so let me write down here, high protein, high fat tips for weight gain.
Pulse has a whey protein powder that's really low in carbs too.
Yes, is that you, Sydney?
Yeah, it's unflavored. Sorry to jump in, but I just wanted to,
that's right.
while we were on that track. Yeah, Coles, it's a sort of a grey packet with yellow on it. I can't remember the brand name.
I have seen the whey powder, yeah.
So you could
do... and the other lady with the yogurt, there is pouches that have no added sugar. Chobani does one. They're high protein.
Oh, there you go.
Yogurt satchels that no added sugar. They're about anywhere from 3.4 grams up to 6.4 grams of carbs on those, depending what flavour you get, fruit flavour.
I already buy high protein Greek yogurt. It's about 9% or something, I think.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Margie, I'd also, if you wanted to as well, just to make sure, because we know as we get older as well, we don't want to lose too much weight, because if we lose muscle mass, that can increase the risk of frequent falls. So we know from the age of 65 and over that the BMI, the body mass index, so our weight, depending on our height, we're actually a little bit more relaxed with it, and we don't sit you in the same BMI as someone in their 30s or 40s. So I would say I'll put the tips on the forum, but it'd be well worth a consultation with a dietitian where they can actually look at good fats and lean protein increased in the diet, and maybe you could have a little bit more carb. The experiment will be, what's your sugars 2 hours after? Yeah. If you had that piece of sourdough with your eggs at breakfast with lots of avocado, are your sugars within range? Yeah, okay. Can you afford to have an extra piece of sourdough, or will you keep that one piece of sourdough and look at other ways? So I think it's brilliant that you really have got blood sugar control in mind, and we can back that up with the good fats and protein to keep that weight on, and if not, put weight on. You could, yeah.
Actually, one tip that's been really good for me is not to eat too late at night too. If I eat too late, then my blood sugar's up next morning.
Yep, that's a really good point.
Every time. Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm trying to eat the big meals early in the day and not eat as much at night and not as late.
That's a really good tip, to have main meal in the day or more in the daytime, and yeah, something smaller at night, and also those snacks in between can top up your levels as well. But I will put some tips on the forum as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, but don't suffer alone. I'd recommend, because you're really motivated and you know, look really healthy. It'd be great for you to see a dietitian if you find you're not getting that weight back on. Yeah.
I have to admit that when I first became diabetic, which was like 13 years ago or something, I went and saw a dietitian, and she was way behind what's the word? 8 ball. And didn't even know about low carb, and whereas I already did, you know.
Yeah.
So I haven't been to a dietitian since. But
it's hard. It's the luck of the draw with hairdressers, with mechanics, with dietitians, with doctors. It's not easy. But look at our forum. I'll put some tips in there, and then also ask some questions in the forum. That's for everyone, because that means I can see it in one place.
Yeah.
And if you've got specific questions, well, what do you think about this, Rebecca, for breakfast? I can answer you on there as well.
Thanks.
Can I
Jocelyn.
just jump in, Beth?
Oh, yes.
Can I just jump in? Abbott Nutrition, have got Glucerna, and they've got Ensure and Ensure Strength for sarcopenia. What they're trying to do at the moment is modify that formulation to make it higher protein but maintain low GI. So that might be something to look out for and watch this space on for prevention of sarcopenia.
Yep, no, that's great. So sarcopenia is where there's muscle wastage, and Glucerna is a really good product. Like Karen was saying, Glucerna, I'll put that on as well. Glucerna, it's higher protein and the carbs are kept low, so you're going to get that protein in the diet and the calories without the blood sugar spike. So there's different ways you can do whey protein, like Siggy said. You can do it a cheap way, like I said, with the milk powder and milk, because then if you're using it in soups and casseroles and tea and coffee, it can be quite expensive. So I'll put all those options for you. So especially as the winter months come along, making soups on high protein milk will mean that that soup is not just vegetables, right, and a bit of protein. It's going to double the protein. So I'll put all those tips there too. But yeah, Glucerna is a great product. Jocelyn, I love the background there. You got balloons in the back.
It's much better than the junk that's behind me. I can tell you that now.
It's like me. I'm not really in Austria. This is from one of the lovely members. I stole his picture.
Going back to, you've mentioned the Baker's Delight high fibre low GI bread. Love it. That's the bread I have in my freezer. And going back to what Catherine said a while ago about cereals, someone mentioned to her that what makes a cereal sit on your shelf on the shelf for 12 months, etc. On my work days, I'm time poor in the mornings. So what I'm doing is, while I'm making my lunch, I'm boiling a couple of eggs. I have 1 egg for breakfast and 2 wheat bix. And I take 1 egg for morning tea with a cuppa. And then I have my lunch, etc. at work. Should I maybe, picking up on what Catherine said, take the wheat bix out and maybe have that morning egg on the work days with a slice or 2 of the high fibre low GI bread?
Good question. So Wheat Bix is a low added sugar, high fiber cereal. However, if you went on the glycemic index website, I'll type it in a minute. And I know there's a lot of question about where's the for, and we'll put that up there for you guys too, so you know where all this information is going to come. But if you looked at the GI, the glycemic index of Wheat Bix, it's actually medium GI, it's not low GI. So you could do an experiment and try to have swap it with the low GI high fiber toast, 1 slice with the eggs, and you'll probably get a better blood sugar reading. Now, in saying that, and you're right, like when I walk down that supermarket aisle with all the cereals, they're so expensive and a lot of them are rubbish. But the ones I recommend for some people, now some people who have oats in the diet, they say the sugars go through the roof, but still cut whole oats is a really good cereal for some people who can tolerate it. So that's probably the only one. And like I said, Wheat Bix is a good cereal. It's low added sugar, high fiber, but we just know from the glycemic index it breaks down really quickly. So often I'll get people to swap it for something else.
I find all cereal falls off the shelf very quickly.
Yeah, and they're expensive. If you do want to try something different, on our website, I will show the recipes. I have my own homemade granola, high protein, low GI granola. So I use a higher ratio of nuts and seeds to oats. And then you find the carbs are kept down. Then you add your whole Greek yogurt on top, or natural yogurt, and you can get as much as as much protein as 2 eggs in a granola. So
is there anything without yogurt? Because I have lactose issues.
Oh, you could do a lactose-free one if you wanted to, or you could just have your toast. I think if you swap it
usually I put the yogurt in my mouth and I vomit straight away.
Oh, doesn't matter. Yeah, well, gosh, no. No, don't want to do that. Some people have granola. When I'm bushwalking with my little one, I make a granola and we eat it as a little snack. That's kind of like we call it a little survival pack, bushwalking snack. But I would think so easy. Your eggs would do really well with a slice of low GI, high fiber toast, and see what happens with the sugars. It's a bit more convenient and tastes better with the egg.
It is, and it's something that can be cooking while I'm making my lunch. I'm multitasking, and
I love it. I love the planning.
On a work day, I'm up at 5 and I leave home at 6:15. I don't want to get up any earlier.
No, I think it's great you're already planning. No, yeah, I think that's great. No, keep it simple, and with the low GI, high fibre toast, I think you'll be fine.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
It's all right.
I agree with you. There's a lot of conflicting information out there. When I was first diagnosed, I was told by the diabetes educator I went to, as soon as you get up in the morning, your sugars start rising. As soon as you start moving, your sugars start rising. Yet I went to a diabetes education event and they said, go out and exercise and your sugars will drop. So one's saying you move, your sugars go up. The other one says you move and your sugars go down. And that's, to me, a polar opposite. So I'm glad that you've mentioned that there's a lot of conflicting information out there.
There is, and there's no one theory that works, because then some people will say they have to wake up and eat, otherwise their sugars go down, you know. And when you look at type 1 diabetes as well, before they exercise, some people need to eat, some people don't. So it really is different. You know, there's not one theory that suits everyone. So yeah. Siki, lovely to see you.
Hey guys, lovely to see you too. Yeah, just I guess sort of following on just from what Jocelyn just said, I find that yes, my sugars do go up as soon as if I wake up, the first thing I do is test, and if I don't do that, if I wait a little bit, I seem to get what I've been told is called a cortisol dump. So my sugars will rise even if I haven't eaten and everything.
Yep.
But exercise will bring that down. So maybe that's what they meant by that your sugars do start rising, but as soon as you exercise, that brings it down to counteract it. I mentioned about the yogurt pouches thing. What was it? Oh, yeah. The other lady, what was her name? Margie. What Margie was saying about it's like you were saying before about the quality of carbs. I find myself going, you know, when I'm out with the family or whatever and we're having to eat out or grab some lunch or something like that, I'm always saying to myself, it's not worth the carbs. It's not worth the carbs. Like, I'd actually prefer to have something that's lower carb that I'm still going to enjoy, that's not going to blow out my goal for the day, sort of thing. I'm not, you know, super about it. I try to still not lose the will to live, kind of thing.
Yes.
But you know, for me, it's things like, you know, I could have, you know, one biscuit with a cup of tea, or I could have like a mango. And to me, like, a mango is like yum compared to one sort of biscuit. It's the same carbs, and because it's like fructose, it sort of breaks down differently. But also, if you're going to have a carb, if you have it by itself, I have found personally, everything's, you know, about you, because it's not the same for everybody, but I found if you're going to have something that's a bit higher in carbs, if you have it by itself, it makes you spike quite quickly. If you have it with particularly some protein or some good fats, then it's not a rush and a spike. So that could be a way to sort of control it a little bit better. I can't remember which lady was saying they have spikes, sorry, but I just wanted to jump in and say, you know,
that's great.
Have your sourdough toast, it's a bit higher in carbs, but if you pair it up with some avocado or some egg, or, you know, some, you know, low nitrate cold meat, or, you know, some sort of protein, then it will, the way your body converts it is it slows it down. So it's sort of lower on the glycemic index, even though it's still a carb, I guess. And I guess my question for you today, Beck, would be, you know, what do I do about, because I test first thing in the morning, I'm usually in the sort of mid to high fives when I get up. So, you know, what's considered normal for me, I sit around there. When I eat, I tend to go up to 7 something. So I'm on that sort of low. I try to stay 50 or under, but sometimes it goes up to, you know, 60 when we go out or something like that. But that cortisol dump in the morning, when I've had that, even if I haven't eaten or, you know, done anything particularly, that can spike up to like 7.7 sometimes, even when I haven't eaten. So should I be concerned about that cortisol spike, and what do I do about it?
It's concern. It can be frustrating, like you said, when you haven't put anything in your mouth. If that's the only time in the day that it happens, it shouldn't affect the HbA1c overall. It doesn't seem to, no. Yeah, it'd be a good question to have a wee chat with your doctor about it, just to see if there's anything else you can do. But I think it's like I remember Stephen, and I know Stephen is on the call. Hey Stephen, we're talking about blood sugar spikes after doing certain exercises, and it doesn't, if it's just a short burst and the rest of the day is fine, it won't affect the overall bigger picture sort of thing. So I don't think it's too much of a concern, but I would raise it with your doctor just to see, because you're getting the levels within range everywhere else. So and if you're finding the HbA1c comes up and it's not coming down, well, then you might think, is that something I can need to address at that time in the day?
Well, the low, through doing the low carb thing, I went from, when I was diagnosed, I went straight to, I was cold turkey, straight to 50 grams and under a day. And in just under 8 weeks, I got my HbA1c from, I think it was like 11.9 or something down to 5.5. So
that's amazing.
That was, so that was,
that's more than half.
I'm a big advocate for low carb, but they have told me that I shouldn't, because my kidney count has come down. I'm being, high sugar for so long, it's impacted my kidneys, so I need to be careful not to slip into ketosis, because that can hit your kidneys a bit too. Is that
Yes.
So it's a sort of a balancing act at the moment, just trying to find the new normal.
But it's great, you're really on it. You really are. You've achieved so much, and then just to be aware of that kidney function. Deb.
Siggy, most endos will tell you that if you wake or pre-breakfast are under 8, you're fine. So that's that's
really
an
under
okay.
8. Oh my God, I'd have a heart attack if my blood was tested at 8. I'd freak out. Even after I eat, like if it goes like over 8, I'm freaking out. Even after I've eaten. So maybe that's something I need to address mentally. But
your management and your control is brilliant. So I wouldn't be worried if you're hitting 7, in the 7s. Even if you're under 8, don't stress, because
don't stress.
What you're finding too is after breakfast you're coming down, even though you're hitting 8 or 7 point something. You're coming down a couple of hours after you've eaten. So it won't be affecting your HbA1c.
Yeah.
Not if that's consistent.
Of the coin. I find the other side of the coin, if I drop below 5.5, I start feeling really funny. So I get sort of spinny and, I can get a bit shaky. So I think a low for me is a bit higher than, under 4, or what people say a hypo is. I'd hate to experience, because I feel really crappy when it drops below sort of 5.3. I'd hate to experience what it would be under 4. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So,
and that's good. You still got good hypo awareness. We want to keep it like that. And I've said in previous webinars, sometimes people, if they don't have good hypo awareness from frequent hypos, they can feel funny at about 3.5, 3, and that's when it's dangerous, So to feel a bit funny at 5.3, I think that's great in terms of, not you don't want to feel great, feel funny, but to nip it in the bud and have something to eat. Now this
Can I jump in with a topic for discussion further on another time? A lot of my type 1s have also got celiac, and sourcing gluten-free food is very expensive. Have you got some information for them on that? And also the fact is that, they have to be careful about where they're eating, because some places do say that it's gluten-free when it's not, and it's, the food preparation is not done separately, and they get really sick afterwards. I know that Baker International Diabetes Institute have a great gluten-free shopping guide. Would Diabetes Victoria do something like that, to include outlets where we can get gluten-free food that's not as expensive as, the main Woolies and Coles that cash in on anything that has health attached to it?
Look, it's a good point. A lot of the majority of the recipes I create are gluten-free. The only thing that would be gluten would be, let's say I've got like a leftover chicken something and suggested a low carb wrap. So that's where it becomes expensive, is more the gluten-free breads. And and cereals. But if you're going low carb, often you'll find that you won't buy those foods because they're quite high in carb. So someone with celiac disease, it's interesting. It really suits a low carb diet because you're just eating whole vegetables and fruit, lean proteins, good fats. And if you're going to make a granola, you can make it out of totally nuts and seeds. I've got a recipe on our website. So it can be quite cheap compared to years ago. And I know when I first started in dietetics, when I worked in the UK, and people that came in with celiac disease, we gave them this little starter pack, and they were vouchers to go and get cheaper products in the supermarket, because back then it was just crackers and breads and cereals. So if you're following low carb to manage diabetes, it shouldn't be as expensive for you. But yeah, look, I think suggestions, particularly on that forum where people can say, this is where I've bought something that's gluten-free. I find Aldi, I'm going there more often, and I'm finding products that are quite good, and they are compliant to allergies such as celiac disease. But like I said, with my recipes, most of them are gluten-free because I'm basing my recipes on whole foods. So when I flavor foods, it's just herbs and spices, lemon juice, vinegars, oils, and like I said, oats and bread are the only things that have got gluten in it. And I don't have a lot of that in my meal plans anyway, except for the last one. I think we had feedback where people said, can we have just some plain old-fashioned spice-free meals? So I've got a few traditional sort of recipes. But yeah, it's a good point, Karen. You can eat very cheaply on a celiac type diet, but when you go to restaurants and cafes, it's the luck of the draw, and you'll find from the test, the villi, if that's still being eroded and you're getting your tests done by the gastroenterologist, then you'll see that gluten's been sneaking in somewhere. One of the first places to look at is where you're eating out.
If your lady commented on the less than 50 gram carb and she went cold turkey and got her A1C down to half, have you got some additional tips on how to beat the sugar cravings in that transition period?
Is that you, Siggy? Was that Siggy?
Yeah, I think she meant me. Yeah.
Are you on less than 50 gram carb a day?
The first 2 weeks I felt like I was going to die. I felt awful. The thing for me was I was drinking the majority of my calories. I hated the taste of water, so I was drinking cordial, and I'd gone off Coca-Cola years beforehand, and I didn't make the association that I was having so many carbs, so much sugar in what I was drinking. So that was the hardest thing to keep for me. But I found alternatives. There's little things that you can add to water called water drop. They're like little capsules that you can add to your water. But then I had the opposite. Another problem kicked in from there. Is somebody off mute? If you have too much of that sugar replacement stuff, that causes other problems. Without getting too graphic about it, you spend a lot of time in the bathroom. But I had to find alternatives. I didn't realise when I first went off all the carbs, I didn't realise there was alternative breads and stuff like that. So that was a good find when I found there was low carb breads. Woolies has one, and the Bergen bread is really good. I think it's like soya and linseed, but it's called lower carb bread.
Yes.
And Abbott's have got a really nice white loaf, and that just is like normal white bread, which is quite nice. It's higher in carbs than the Bergen one, but it's still lower than normal. The reason I had my hand raised is don't just trust labeling on the package. If you compare, give you an example. You go to Woolies and you want a pizza base, your low carb pizza base, and there's cauliflower base, it's low carb. If you look at the carbs in that compared to the good old Woolies thin crust sort of thing, the cauliflower one's still got like 32 grams of carbs, the Woolies one's got 16. So you have to turn it over and read that nutritional panel. You really have to. Don't just rely on it's low carb, when you pick it up, because it's just, there's so much out there that says low carb or lower carb, and it's so not. So yeah, label reading is really important. That's why I had my hand raised. Did that answer your question? Sorry, I rambled a bit.
Yes, except for I just wanted to know if there was anything from Beck's perspective on curbing the sugar cravings that happen when someone is, reducing drastically their carbohydrate, and they're like a chocoholic, something like that. Is there a fact sheet that we can use to help people?
Yeah, look, it depends. Sometimes I find that you've got to look at the bigger picture as well. Is the person eating enough at meals? So I've had patients where they've cut the carbs down, but in actual fact, they're still not eating enough at meal times, and that can cause cravings. Sometimes the carbs is too low. I've had patients where the carbs they've been far too low, and they could have actually increased it a little bit more, because what happens is you get this massive sugar craving, and then you overdo it with biscuits or chocolates. So I remember one patient, we increased a little bit of carb, and she was still only eating about 20 grams at meals. So that was 20, about 60 grams a day, still low. But we increased it a bit more because she was eating about 10 grams and the cravings went away. But some things that can work, I love a hot chocolate using pure cocoa with a little bit of hot water. You melt the cocoa, a teaspoon with a little bit of hot water, add whatever milk you like, whatever plant milk, normal milk, and a little bit of vanilla essence. And if you put that on the stove or microwave it, it smells and tastes like real hot chocolate. There was someone in the questions who asked about Adrienne about they'd like chocolate as a snack now and then, or crackers or biscuits. Now, some people can get away with a few squares of dark chocolate, and I know Deb's partial to a bit of dark chocolate. I am myself. So 2 squares of really good dark chocolate should hit the mark. Now, some people find once they start, they can't stop. I've had patients put it in the freezer, little squares in the freezer, but then I've had people go and microwave it to thaw it out. I mean, everyone's different. So out of sight, out of mind if you can't handle that. But yeah, that taste of chocolate with the hot chocolate, a couple of squares of chocolate's not going to hurt you, or a couple of little crackers is fine. If fruit in your diet, if you find that depending on how many carbs you have in your diet, naturally sweet, the sweetness from real fruit can also help as well. You can put a few blueberries in the freezer and partially thaw them out, and they really taste lovely. So many different things you can do, but I'll look up some sugar craving tips. Let's write this down. Sugar craving tips. I've got some snack ideas.
Frozen berries was good, and I got around having snacks. So if I had sugar cravings at first, I'd make myself a little, what I called a charcuterie board, but it was a little bread and butter plate and I'd allow myself to have maybe 2 rice crackers or 2 low carb crackers. You can get Atkins crackers, which haven't got anything in them and stuff. But I'd have, a little bit of cheese and a few blueberries and, a little snacky things, and that curbed the craving. And I found that when it was really bad, if I had something like that for lunch too, completely satisfying, because it was all the different textures and everything.
Yes.
And I had that crunch, which I personally found reduced the cravings. And the other for chocolate, I find now if I get a super craving for chocolate, I'll have a no-sugar bar, which I think has got 4 grams of carbs in it. They do one that's like a Snickers bar, and it's awesome. So yeah, but I try not to have too much of that processed stuff, but in a pinch.
And I love that idea of putting a snack on a plate rather than walking with a snack. My little one calls it a bits and bobs plate. So I put a bit of cheese, a few squares of cucumber or slices of cucumber with a bit of the Japanese mayo she likes on it, some blueberries, some carrots, a little bit of meat, and just bits and pieces. And sitting and snacking on that that mindful eating can really satisfy you as well. And also, Margie, looking at putting on weight, having those little high calorie snacks, a few cubes of cheese, some nuts, they can really hit the spot as well, but increase those calories without affecting the blood sugars or even blood lipids or anything. I can't believe, are we 2:03? I'm doing New South Wales time.
Yes, we are.
Can't believe
I was going to say we might. I know Yvette has had her hand up for a little while. If we wanted to jump to Yvette, then Jemima and Karen. If we jump to those 3, and then there are some questions in the chat and in the Q&A as well. And if we don't get time for those, I will make copy of those and take them across to a Word document, get back to answer them, and then we will pop them into that Diabetes United General Forum chat in Diabetes Connect. For those of you who haven't accessed Diabetes Connect, I have put the link in the chat as well.
One thing I know someone did
I
mention.
have to go now. Can I just say thank you for that? But I have to leave. Thank you.
Lovely to hear from you, Margie. Someone did write about osteoarthritis and low carb, so I will put that in the forum because there is research on reducing inflammation going on low carb diets, etc. So I will put information about that. But let's go with Yvette. Hi, Yvette. Come off mute, Yvette. Can you take yourself off mute?
Sorry, I didn't realize. Yes, for breakfast I have a half cup of raw oats, but I don't cook them, just raw. Is that too much carbs?
That's fine. If your blood sugar's 2 hours after is okay, then that's fine because it's a good. Yep.
Sorry, it's about 7, and I was a bit worried.
That's fine. 2 hours after a 7 is fine, but that's absolutely fine. Not a problem.
All right,
yeah.
Thank you.
If it starts creeping, we know that diabetes is a progressive condition. So I've had patients who start off with the old half a cup of oats. It's high fiber, high soluble fiber. But if you find the sugars start to creep up, you might reduce the amount of oats and add some nuts in there, or maybe go for a different breakfast alternative and swap it around a bit. Go for a lower carb, sort of more granola type breakfast. So just keep a check on it.
Do you have any ideas for low carb breakfast?
Yes. So what I'm going to do now is, and I put also the glycemic index website. So if people want to look at the GI of certain things, it didn't work before because I think I typed something in there wrong. But I'll also put our website with the recipes. So if you go in there and go breakfast, lunch, dinner, you'll be able to find low carb recipes. Right. We follow strict criteria. So each meal needs to be less than 30 grams of carbs.
Right.
And you'll find a lot of my recipes will be well below 30 or some just under 30.
Okay.
Can I just ask a quick question, please?
Yes.
I did ask it on the thing before. Look, I'd like to know if there are any other foods which are good for osteoporosis apart from prunes.
Apart from, yes, so was a really good, who was it? Someone on the forum, I think, was talking about prunes and the benefits of prunes. I would say definitely omega-3s. What I can do is I've already added it to my list on osteoarthritis, sorry.
No, osteoporosis, yeah.
Yeah, osteoporosis. Okay. So I'll add, I've added that to my list. It's not osteoarthritis, because someone wrote about osteoarthritis, so we're looking at inflammation there, but osteoporosis.
Because osteoporosis is linked to diabetes, but like the degree which how much people are diabetics are affected by osteoporosis has yet to be established.
Yes.
But I don't want to go on medication because it can also impair kidney or liver function. So
correct.
I want to do like exercise and approach it that way. So I need to have more info.
Yep, no, definitely. I'll put osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. So definitely for thickening of the bones, keeping them strong, your exercise, weight-bearing exercise, calcium, vitamin D, absorbs calcium. So I'll add that to my list.
But like foods themselves, I think prunes are a standout, but I was just wondering.
They are a standout.
Any other ones, can come part of the way there. Thank you.
Thank you. No, prunes, it's, I can't remember who put me onto that study, but it's astounding, the benefits of prunes. Really, really interesting. But I'll add some more information there for you as well. I've also put in the Q&A and the chat our website with directing you to our recipes. So have a look. There's a lot of recipes there. And just to let you know, the way I write the meal plans is I come up with an idea every month, something different, whether it's classic foods, whether it's fakeaways, whether it's Latino, Mediterranean diet, whatever. I try to accommodate for all different tastes. So have a look in there and hopefully there's something that you'll find that works for you. I've put the carbs per serve. It will say whether it's gluten-free And yeah, there should be something there for everyone.
Thank you.
Now we've got one more.
Sorry, could I quickly ask too? A lot of people with diabetes have got cardiovascular condition and are on warfarin. Can you put up some recipe ideas for accommodating for the warfarin with diabetes? Because there's so much they can't have.
Well, if they're on blood thinners, of course, vitamin K rich foods can impact it. So it's really hard when we're recommending to have lots of greens in the diet and then you're looking at restricting. I'll put here vitamin K. So it's also the dose that makes the poison. So when it comes to vitamin K rich foods, we don't just cut it out completely, but something to be aware of is also our green teas and herbs. If you know, ever went and saw a herbalist and things like that, it's really important to consider everything in your diet that could be impacting it. So I do have a little fact sheet on that. Thank you very much. So I've just put the recipes, the link to the recipes there. So who are we up to, Ange? Was it Jemima and then Karen? Jemima and Karen. Yep. Jemima and then Karen.
Yes, I have type 2 diabetes, and I'm worried about it going up over 10 after eating. I have overnight oats when I come out and about. I'm actually at the library today. Otherwise, I have something different, like a smoothie or something when I'm at home. Also at night, after eating, my sugar goes up as well, and I haven't had anything to eat. I am trying to lose weight desperately. The diabetes specialist put me on Diamicron, and I lost the weight last year, and then I put it back on again. I'm now on metformin, 500 or 1,000 a day. I just don't like it going up so high. I get a pain in the side of the head.
Yes.
And I'm not seeing my diabetes specialist until the end of February.
Okay. Okay. So what was your question, Jemima? So it's interesting you've swapped the medication and everything, and you said you're getting spikes in the morning. Is that right?
Yes.
Before eating?
At the moment, no, after eating.
Okay.
I had my overnight oats, for example, at 11 o'clock because I had to leave home. I'm looking after my elderly mother. I had to leave home, and when I got to my group of friends where we had a session for dementia, I had my oats at 11 o'clock, and still now at 2 o'clock, it's still up at 12.
Okay, so you could try a few. Have you tried to experiment and varied the type of breakfast you've had before? Because
that just comes in handy because I don't have time to eat before I come out.
Yeah, no, understood. I guess at some point, if you can, because I think we've mentioned before, for some people, oats, even half a cup, which is not a lot, will spike the levels, and it's very hard to get it down. As hard as it is, because I think oats is a really good breakfast.
I make a homemade muesli using rolled oats.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And I use that in my overnight oats. I don't use the plain oats. Yeah.
What I could suggest,
it's got the chia seeds in it and everything else.
Fantastic. What you want is really to experiment with different breakfasts, if you can, and it would be swapping that for something different. So have a look on our website, look at the recipes. There are quick, easy to eat things like cereals.
I haven't been able to get to the forum. That's why one of the girls asked where the forum was, and so I asked as well.
Well, I've put our website as well. If you go to Diabetes Australia and look up recipes, I've put the link in. You'll find the granola I've come up with. I've reduced the ratio of oats and added more nuts to keep the carbs low because of that question people would have. How can I still have a quick cereal that's really, really good, but lowering carbs? So have a look at that one. chia seeds, if you make like a chia pudding as well. So look at the breakfast,
Yeah,
the
there's not
quick,
much
easy
taste in
breakfast.
that.
So, well, horses for courses. So, so definitely try the granola. Have a look on our website, and then it can be quick and easy. It's great you're making an effort to eat a really good breakfast. Unfortunately, some people just can't handle the oats. So I would definitely switch to something else and use that as an experiment. Yeah, that's a really good question. Now, Stephen just quickly asked about Nutella. Is that okay? Now, Nutella is a treat now and then, although would you believe that Nutella is low GI because of a lot of the fat in it and the nuts? So a scrape on your toast is fine, but I wouldn't say it's an everyday thing. Okay, it's more important the type of bread that you have than a scrape of the Nutella. So hopefully that keeps you happy, Stephen. Karen.
Yeah, hi. I'm type 2 diabetic. Just been diagnosed about a year ago, and as much as I'm a nurse, I am tearing my hair out. I know how to look after you in emergency department and how to look after that, but to look after myself is like I'm tearing my hair out. You go to one place that tells you one thing, you go to another place, as the other Karen said, there's conflicting information. So I've just sort of gone back to everything of just like trying to be really good and eat healthily. And yes, I have lost 12 kilos over the last year. I haven't done anything about my carbs. Yes, I've cut it out. Like I don't eat, like potatoes, and I don't go out of bread. My diabetes educator told me to eat 9-grade bread.
That's
9 grain. So is that all right?
That's fine. That's one type of low GI bread. Just be careful. Some grain breads are just white bread with grains in it. So you want to go for a whole grain bread. But
it's wholemeal 9 grain.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all right then. Okay.
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
But as much as my HbA1c has never been above 6, it's like 6.2 or something.
Wow.
My whole body's gone out of whack though. My thyroid's gone out of whack. I'm now taking vitamin B12 because I'm a run down. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but neither does the doctor actually. But but yeah, I'm really going to look forward. I've listened to everybody's things and I've taken some stuff on board. I can't have nuts though. I'm allergic. So I need an alternative to that one. But I'm going to look at your website and stuff. So yeah, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for your tips and stuff. But then like you go to work and I work shift work, so there's another issue in itself. And like you have a snack, like I'll have yogurt and a little box of sultanas, and everyone goes, no, they're too hot, too many carbs and stuff. And it's like, then I think, oh my God.
Karen's an expert. It gets confusing. And look, Karen, I think you've done really well to lose the weight that you have. And it's great that you're in contact with your medical professional, particularly with vitamin B12. You're obviously probably getting infusions or whatever, but make that the priority if your HbA1c's come down. Look, sultanas.
Well, it's never been higher than 6, even when I got diagnosed.
Wow. For some people, sultanas, they can eat. Prunes are a low GI carb. I eat prunes every day. They're very, my mum says that as well. She can't handle it. I say to my daughter, a prune a day keeps the doctor away, but she hates that. But look, that is it's a good example that sultanas, if you ate sultanas and they went up, the sugars went up like oats, well, then you swap it for something else. But if you can eat sultanas and the blood sugars are okay, it's a high fiber, high vitamin C source of a fruit source. So different things work for different people. Always check your sugars. And yeah, it can be confusing that everyone's an expert when it comes to nutrition. So keep looking at our website, keep on our forum. We've got some great members who are always asking very, very good questions, and Ange and I are always on. And if I can't find the answer, because I'm not a medical professional, I'll always find the answer for you. But yeah, I like how you said to Karen, keep it basic, just keep it simple. Just be careful of all that advice out there. But I can't believe that it's 2:17 New South Wales time. We're going to save all of this, so I'll make sure that all the questions are answered. I've got 2 pages worth of notes I've written that I'm going to include on the forum, so everyone gets their questions answered. But I want to personally thank all of you. There's so much knowledge. So much knowledge. I don't really have to speak much. Everyone's got their tips and tricks and questions. And I think it's growing. Our forums are growing. I'm going to hand you over to Ange.
Just a heads up, the link to the glycemic index is broken. It's not going to the right page. It just says not
all right,
found.
my darling. Thanks.
That link might have even changed, Beck, since changes with, I'm not sure.
No, it's still it's still okay because I use it most days. Let me just put it there again. Here
we can pop it into what we can do. All the questions that are in the chat and the Q&A that haven't been answered will stay in our back end system. So I'll put all of those onto a Word document, as I said, in case Beck's missed any. We'll answer them all and pop them as a post in that Diabetes United general forum for you. So if you wanted to have a look at that, it will be in there.